She woke before the sun every day, when the ranch was still quiet and cold. The air felt heavy and her body already ached from the work that waited. She pulled herself up from the thin bed in the small room behind the kitchen. The room had one window and a single chair and a small table. It was not much, but it was all she had for Noshi. Washed her face with cold water and tied her hair back with care. She did not look at herself for long. She had learned not to ask questions in the mirror. Questions only made the heart feel tired. She put on her old work clothes and stepped outside. The ranch stretched wide and open. The land felt endless, with fences running far into the distance. Horses stood quietly in the early light. The smell of dust and grass filled the air. This place had become her whole world, even though she never planned for it to be. She had come here after everything else fell apart, after the small home she once knew was gone, after promises were broken and people walked away. She did not speak about her past because no one ever asked, and because speaking about it made the pain come back stronger. Her job was simple in words but heavy in life. She cleaned the house, washed clothes, cooked meals, and kept things running without being seen. She moved softly through rooms like a shadow, making sure everything was done before anyone noticed what was missing. People came and went on the ranch, workers, visitors, buyers, but no one really saw her. They spoke over her or around her. Sometimes they forgot she was even there. That hurt at first, but later it felt safer. Being invisible meant no one could disappoint her again. She worked through the morning without stopping. Her hands moved fast and steady. Years of work had trained her body. Even when her mind felt tired, she scrubbed floors until they shined. She carried water back and forth without complaint. She fixed small things that others did not notice. While she worked, her thoughts wandered back to a time when life felt different, a time when she believed kindness always came back when given freely. That belief had faded slowly over the years, worn down by silence and broken trust. Now, she kept her kindness quiet and close to her chest. Around her, he stayed busy with land animals and deals. He was known as a strong, quiet man, someone who kept to himself. People respected him, but few knew him well. She only saw him from a distance most days. When he did pass by, she lowered her eyes. Out of habit, not because she feared him, but because she had learned her place. Life had taught her that staying small kept things simple. By midday, the sun climbed high, and the heat settled in. Her back ached, but she kept going. She ate a small meal. Alone in the kitchen, standing by the counter, there was no time to sit, no reason either. She listened to the sounds of the ranch outside. Voices, boots, animals, moving life continued without her, needing to be part of it, and that was fine, she told herself. She was used to standing on the edge of other people's lives. In the afternoon, she washed clothes in the back area. The water was cold at first, then warm as the day went on. She wrung out each piece by hand. Her fingers felt stiff, but she did not slow down. She had learned that slowing down gave room for thoughts she did not want sometimes. She wondered how her life might have been if one moment in the past had gone differently. If one person had stayed, if one promise had been kept. But wondering did not change anything, so she pushed those thoughts away and focused on the work. As the day moved toward evening, the ranch grew louder. Workers returned, horses were settled, dust rose with each step. She finished the last of her tasks and cleaned the kitchen again, making sure everything was ready for the night. She felt tired in a deep way that sleep did not always fix. Still, she found comfort in knowing the day was almost done. Another day survived another day without trouble. When the sun began to lower, she stepped outside again. The sky turned soft with warm colors. She stood there for a moment longer than usual, letting the quiet wrap around her. These moments were rare and precious. She thought about her future, though she tried not to. She had no clear plans, no dreams. She allowed herself to hold on to life, had taught her to focus on today only. Tomorrow could bring anything, and not all things were kind. Back in her small room, she sat on the bed and took off her shoes. Her feet were sore, her hands were rough, but she told herself she was strong. Strength was the one thing no one could take from her. She lay down and stared at the ceiling, listening to the distant sounds of the ranch settling for the night somewhere out there. People laughed, talked, shared meals. She stayed quiet, alone with her thoughts. She did not know that this place, which once felt like nothing more than a place to work, would slowly become something else. She did not know that someone had already begun to notice her quiet strength and gentle heart, for now she only knew the routine wake, work, rest, repeat. She believed this was all her life would be, and she accepted it, because hope felt too heavy to carry anymore. As sleep finally came, she held on to one simple thought: she had survived another day, and sometimes survival felt like enough, though. Days continued much the same at the ranch, yet something small had begun to change. Even if she did not notice it at first, her work stayed heavy, and her routine stayed strict. But the feeling of being completely unseen slowly shifted one morning while she was sweeping the long hallway. She sensed someone nearby. She did not look up right away. She kept her eyes on the floor, as she always did then. She heard a calm voice ask if the work was too much for one person. The question surprised her. No one had asked her that before. She paused for a moment, unsure how to respond. Then she quietly said that she managed just fine. Her voice came out soft, almost unsure. The cowboy stood a short distance away. His boots were dusty, and his hat was worn from years of sun and wind. He did not rush her or speak again right away. He simply nodded and said that if she ever needed help, she should say so then. He walked on that brief moment, stayed with her longer than she expected. It was not the words alone, but the tone. He had spoken to her as if her answer mattered, as if she mattered. She shook the thought away and returned to her work. Still the day felt different. Her hands moved the same, but her chest felt lighter, and that confused her. She was not used to kindness that came without a price over. The next few days, similar moments happened. He held a door open without making it a big thing. He asked if she had eaten. He noticed when she stayed up late finishing extra tasks. None of it felt forced or showy. It felt simple and real. She did not know what to do with this attention. Part of her wanted to step back and return to being invisible. Another part felt warmth she had not felt in a long time. She stayed careful, keeping her distance. Yet she could not deny the change. Cowboy lived a quiet life shaped by work and long days. He carried his own past, filled with loss and lessons. Learned the hard way. He had built walls around himself, choosing silence over pain for years. He believed that was the safest way to live. Watching her move through the ranch stirred something in him. He saw how she worked without complaint, how she cared for small details others ignored. He noticed the tired look in her eyes and the strength in her posture. She reminded him of a kind of courage that did not ask for praise. One evening, as the sun lowered, found her sitting on the steps behind the kitchen, resting her feet. She looked surprised when she noticed him. She stood up right away out of habit. He told her she could sit. He said the workday was nearly over.
I'll wait.
His voice was calm, without authority. She slowly sat back down, unsure, but grateful. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the sky change colors. The quiet did not feel heavy. It felt peaceful. Then he spoke about the weather and the land, simple things, nothing personal, nothing that crossed a line. She listened and nodded, adding a few words when she felt comfortable. Her voice was still soft, but steadier than before. She felt strange talking without fear of being judged or dismissed. After that evening, their small talks became part of the day. A few words in passing, a shared glance of understanding, a moment of quiet that felt safe. She still worked hard and stayed within her role, but the loneliness felt less sharp. She began to take better care of herself in small ways. She rested when she could. She allowed herself to breathe. She even caught herself humming once while folding clothes. That surprised her most of all, yet fear stayed close. Every kind moment reminded her of past pain. She told herself not to expect anything, not from him, not from life. She had learned that hope could hurt more than silence. The cowboy also wrestled with his thoughts. He questioned why he felt drawn to her presence. He worried about overstepping or causing pain. He had seen how easily trust could break, and he did not want to be the reason for that. Still, he could not ignore the pull. He respected her space and spoke only when appropriate. He believed that real care showed through actions, not promises. One afternoon, a sudden storm rolled in, fast, catching many off. Guard rain poured heavy, and winds swept across the ranch. She was caught outside carrying supplies, her clothes soaked through, and her steps slowed. He saw her from a distance and rushed over, guiding her inside without a word. He handed her a dry towel and stepped back, giving her space. The concern in his eyes said more than any sentence could. In that moment, she felt something shift deep inside. Her guard cracked just a little, she realized that care did not always come with harm. Sometimes it came quietly, asking for nothing in return. That night, as she lay in her small room listening to the rain, she thought about the day. Her heart felt full and scared at the same time. She did not know what this growing connection meant or where it might lead. All she knew was that for the first time in a long while, she did not feel completely alone. And that feeling both comforted her and frightened her. As sleep slowly came, days passed at the ranch, and the quiet bond between them continued to grow. Yet it was not without its struggles. She felt the warmth of attention and the gentle care, but doubt lingered inside her mind. Constantly she questioned every kind word, every look that lingered a moment too long. She wondered if she was imagining things or if she deserved this feeling at all. Past disappointments whispered in her ear, warning her to pull back to stay safe. Her work remained demanding. She kept to her routine and stayed focused on tasks that allowed her to avoid thinking too much. She cleaned, washed, prepared meals, and moved through the ranch with quiet precision. But even in motion, her mind returned to thoughts of him and what he might be thinking. The cowboy noticed the hesitation in her eyes and the way she sometimes recoiled from small gestures. He understood fear, though he could not see the weight of her past. He respected the walls she had built and gave her space. Even when he longed to close the distance. One morning, she was tidying the stables when a young horse became nervous and reared. She froze, unsure what to do, but he was there beside her, steadying the animal, guiding her hands and calming her voice. His presence was reassuring, yet she felt exposed. She realized she had to trust someone fully to survive moments like this. And that was terrifying. After the horse was calm, he walked away without a word, leaving her to process the mix of relief, fear, and gratitude that rushed through her. She found herself thinking of him, often wondering why someone could care without wanting anything in return. Fear mingled with longing. She wanted connection, yet feared its consequences. She remembered past faces that had promised care only to leave, and the memory made her heart tighten. She asked herself how she could allow herself to hope again. Meanwhile, the cowboy carried his own doubts. He knew the careful walls she built were not easy to break. He worried that a small misstep could shatter the trust she was slowly giving. He measured each action and each word because he did not want to cause the kind of pain she had already endured. They shared small moments of conversation, sitting quietly on the porch or walking near the fields. Their words were careful and measured. Sometimes they talked about work, sometimes about the land, sometimes about the sky. Nothing that would force vulnerability too quickly, yet each word carried weight, as if building a bridge between them. One evening, a disagreement arose. She had taken extra work to keep the kitchen clean, and he gently suggested she rest. She hesitated, pulled back, and insisted she could manage. He accepted her words, though he could sense her inner struggle. He did not push yet. He stayed nearby, offering quiet support. The tension lingered inside her. She wondered if she would ever learn to accept care without feeling guilty. She questioned her worth and if someone could truly value her. For herself, she feared letting her walls down might bring joy, but also the chance of heartbreak in the following days. The ranch faced challenges. A stone damaged the fencing, and the horses grew anxious. She moved quickly to help secure them. Her hands and arms ached, but she refused to slow down. Even when fatigue set in, she continued working without complaint. He helped when necessary, guiding her actions calmly without judgment. She noticed the way he worked with patience, noticing every detail yet never rushing. She felt small glimmers of trust forming in her chest, though she refused to admit it fully. They shared a quiet moment after the storm had passed. She stood on the porch and looked out over the wet fields. He joined her in. Said nothing at first. They just stood together, feeling the breeze and the soft light that returned after the rain. She realized she wanted to share more of herself, but the fear of being hurt held her back. She felt torn between opening her heart and retreating into her safe, invisible shell. She remembered past losses, the times she had given and received nothing in return. Cowboy understood the silence. He could see her struggle. He gave her space, yet his presence reminded her that not everyone left. Not everyone caused pain. Some people stayed and offered steady hands and quiet eyes. Night came and she returned to her small room. She sat on the edge of her bed, reflecting on the day. The fear and doubt still lingered, but so did a faint warmth, a hope she tried to deny. She realized slowly that fear would always be part of her life, yet perhaps trust could grow carefully in small steps. She thought of the moments of care, the calm gestures, and the way he did not demand or push. She felt a fragile sense that maybe someone could see her and value her for who she truly was. That night she fell asleep with thoughts swirling in her mind. She felt exhausted yet alive with fear mingled with hope, with doubt mingled with the faint, understanding that perhaps life could be different and that she did not have to be alone forever. The days at the ranch moved slowly yet steadily. She continued her work as she always had, cleaning, preparing meals, and caring for the animals. Her routine gave her comfort, yet her heart felt lighter now that he was nearby. One morning she carried water to the horses when she slipped on the wet ground. Her hands fumbled and she almost fell, but he was there steadying her without hesitation. His hands were firm yet gentle, guiding her back to her feet. She felt warmth rush through her chest at his care, and she did not pull away. He walked beside her and asked softly if she was all right. She nodded quietly, too surprised by her own reaction to speak. She realized she had grown used to being careful, yet in that moment she felt safe letting him see her stumble, letting him catch her. That afternoon she found him repairing a fence. She watched from a distance, unsure if she should speak or stay silent. He looked up and waved her over. She approached slowly, unsure what words to use. He handed her a tool and explained simply how to help. She followed his instructions carefully, learning to tighten posts and secure wires. Her hands moved slowly at first. Then, with more confidence, she felt proud of herself for contributing, yet also grateful that he had taken the time to show her without pressure or judgment. The days continued in this rhythm work, conversation, small gestures, and quiet understanding. She began to notice the little things he did for her without asking for recognition. He left warm food on the table. He made sure she had breaks when he saw her fatigue. He noticed when her hands were sore and suggested she rest. She began to allow herself to rest. She sat in the sun for a few minutes without feeling guilty. She smiled softly when he brought her water. She laughed quietly when he told a story about his own clumsy mistakes on the ranch. These moments felt like sunlight breaking through the clouds of her past. One evening, a young calf was struggling and she ran to help but did not know how to calm it. He arrived quickly, guiding her hands and voice. She watched how he moved with patience and confidence. She mirrored him, learning how to soothe the animal. She felt a surge of pride knowing she could help with his guidance. Stayed close afterward, helping her check the other animals. She realized that she wanted to spend more time with him, yet feared her feelings. She did not want to hope too much in case it ended badly. She wanted to hold on to caution and safety, even as her heart told her something different, though. Cowboy noticed subtle changes in her. He saw her standing taller, her eyes brighter, her hands more steady. He knew that trust was growing slowly, and that it required patience. He continued to offer care, without expectation, knowing that real connection took time. One morning as she worked in the kitchen, he brought a small bundle of fresh herbs from the garden. She looked at him, surprised. He suggested they could add them to the meal for flavor. She smiled softly and accepted them. He stayed for a moment, watching her work, then quietly walked away, giving her space yet leaving a sense of warmth behind. She began to think about him more often. Her mind wandered to him during quiet moments. She imagined conversations they could have. She wondered if he thought about her too. The feelings frightened her, yet also made her feel alive in a way she had not felt for years. She started to notice that small gestures mattered more than big words. She remembered past times when promises were empty and learned that actions held truth. She began to believe that care could be shown through simple, consistent deeds, and that she could trust that kind of love. Evenings became times of reflection. She sat on the porch alone after the work was done, feeling the cool air and the soft light. She thought about the day, the moments of connection, and the slow building trust. She realized that her heart was opening. Despite fear, she struggled with doubts. Still remembering past disappointments, she feared that giving too much hope could hurt her. She wondered if she could ever fully accept kindness without skepticism, yet she found herself looking for him in the mornings, hoping for a smile or a word. He noticed her glances and understood the unspoken fear. He respected her boundaries and never rushed her. Yet his presence remained steady, offering support without words. He believed that letting her move at her own pace was the truest form of care together. They built small routines that brought comfort. She cleaned and prepared meals with him nearby. He guided her hands or offered advice on animals or fences. They did not need words to communicate the trust and understanding growing between them. One night after the day was done, she lingered outside, looking at the stars. He joined her, and they stood in silence, feeling the calm of the night. She felt safe close to him and realized slowly that hope was returning to her life, that care and attention could exist without strings attached. Lay in her room that night, thinking of the small gestures, the guidance, the steady presence, and the quiet understanding. She realized she was no longer just surviving each day. She was learning to feel hope, to trust again, and to imagine a life where she could be valued for who she truly was. The mornings came softly at the ranch. She woke with the sun and moved through her routine with steady hands. Her body still ached from work, yet her heart felt lighter. She no longer carried the weight of loneliness in the same way. Cowboy was often nearby, offering quiet support without words. He did not rush or push. She found herself noticing his presence more than she expected. She looked forward to small gestures, a nod, a smile, a careful question. One day she found herself outside feeding the animals when a young foal stumbled. She moved quickly to help, yet felt unsure. Her hand shook slightly, but he was there guiding her patiently. She followed his direction and felt pride when the foal stood safely. He looked at her and said she had done well. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that his care was not just about work or the ranch. It was about seeing her as capable, strong, and worthy. Her walls began to crumble, slowly as the days passed. She allowed herself more moments of rest and reflection. She sat in the sun, watched the horses graze, and breathed deeply. She began to imagine a life beyond mere survival, a life where she could feel valued and loved. He noticed these changes. She spoke more freely, shared small thoughts, and even laughed quietly. He responded with kindness, never forcing her to speak or move faster than she was ready. The trust between them grew steadily with every shared moment. One evening after finishing work, they walked near the river. She picked up a stone and skipped it across the water. He watched silently, then joined her, taking a stone of his own. They threw stones together, laughing softly. The sound was gentle and filled with ease. She realized she felt lighter than she had in years. They spent more time together in small ways. He taught her new tasks on the ranch, showed her better ways to care for animals, and shared stories from his past moments of struggle and learning. She listened intently, realizing that trust was built through shared experiences and consistency. She began to care for herself more consciously, eating well, resting when needed, and tending to small comforts. She realized that accepting care was not weakness. It was a way to allow life to be gentler and more meaningful. She was learning to value herself through his steady presence. One afternoon, a visitor arrived at the ranch. She moved quickly to prepare refreshments, yet he watched her with calm eyes, ensuring she did not overwork herself. He guided her gently, suggesting breaks and helping her manage tasks. She began to see that care could exist without demand, without strings attached. As the season changed and the days grew longer, she noticed her heart opening fully. She no longer felt the constant fear of abandonment. Instead, she felt hope slowly returning. Hope that life could be kind. Hope that trust could be rebuilt. Hope that love could exist without past pain controlling her. One evening, after the work was done, they sat together on the porch, watching the sun dip behind the hills. She felt the warmth of his presence and realized she wanted to share her thoughts, yet feared too much vulnerability. She stayed quiet for a moment, then slowly spoke about small hopes, about little dreams she had almost forgotten. He listened with gentle attention, acknowledging her words and offering no judgment, only understanding and steady care. She realized that this was what she had been missing all along, someone who saw her fully and accepted her. Without expectation, days turned into weeks, and the bond grew stronger. She moved through her work with more confidence and joy. She felt lighter and freer, knowing she was valued and appreciated. She no longer doubted her worth or feared the future as she once had. One morning she woke and noticed the softness of the first light falling through her window. She stretched and smiled softly, remembering how far she had come. She thought about the quiet moments, the guidance, the patient care, and realized that she had found a home not just in the ranch but in the trust and hope she had allowed herself to embrace. She looked forward to the day, knowing that she would continue to grow. She understood now that love could be quiet, steady, and kind. She felt gratitude for the moments that had built her trust and allowed her heart to heal. Evenings became times of reflection and gratitude. She watched the stars and felt peace. She no longer feared being alone because she had learned that connection could be gentle and consistent. She had reclaimed hope and allowed herself to feel loved again. The cowboy stood nearby, offering presence, not pressure. She felt safe and secure. She realized that together they had created something lasting. Built on patience, understanding, and quiet care, she knew that trust and hope could grow slowly and that love could be found even after years of pain. She lay in her room that night feeling the calm that comes from knowing she was seen, valued, and loved. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the weight lift from her heart. She was no longer just surviving each day. She was living fully with hope, trust, and the gentle certainty that life could be kind once more. The days at the ranch grew warmer and lighter. She woke each morning with a quiet sense of purpose and calm. Her body still bore the marks of work, yet her heart felt steady and filled with a new kind of strength. She moved through her tasks with care and a sense of ease that had not been there before. The cowboy was often nearby, watching silently or offering gentle guidance. He never rushed her and never demanded her attention. She began to notice small ways he showed care without words, leaving her feeling both valued and safe. One morning, as she cleaned the stables, a young horse shied suddenly. She froze, unsure what to do, but he appeared beside her, guiding her hands and voice. She followed, slowly gaining confidence as the horse calmed. She realized that he had taught her not only how to handle the animals, but also how to trust herself. Found herself thinking about him often during quiet moments. Her mind wandered to the small gestures, the warm glances, the calm presence, and the feeling that she could rely on someone without fear. She wondered if this was what it meant to have someone truly cared. The ranch required work and attention, but she no longer felt the same weight of isolation. Each task became part of a rhythm she could manage. She smiled softly when she noticed how he anticipated her needs without asking, and how he treated her as an equal, capable, and strong. One afternoon, a storm rolled in quickly, catching her off guard. She hurried to bring the animals into shelter, yet struggled to move fast enough. Cowboy appeared almost instantly, offering steady hands and calm instructions. She followed him, feeling the strength of teamwork and the comfort of shared purpose. After the storm had passed, they walked together across the wet fields. She glanced at him, noticing the quiet determination and care in his movements. She felt warmth spreading through her chest, realizing that she had begun to hope in ways she had not for years. Evenings were often spent sitting near the barn watching the sunset. She spoke more freely about small dreams and thoughts. She listened when he shared his own stories about life on the ranch, moments of challenge and lessons learned. Her heart felt light as she realized that trust could grow slowly and steadily without pressure. Her work took on new meaning as she began to take pride in her skills. She prepared meals with care, tended the animals with confidence, and kept the home with diligence. She felt satisfaction not from obligation, but from knowing she contributed meaningfully and was valued for it. The cowboy noticed these changes. He offered encouragement quietly without making her feel weak or dependent. He continued to show respect and attention in subtle ways, allowing her to grow comfortable with receiving care. One morning, she found herself walking along the creek carrying supplies. She stumbled on the wet rocks, but he was there steadying her. She felt a surge of gratitude and awareness that he was present in ways that did not demand or expect anything. In return, her heart felt lighter with each shared moment. She reflected often on how far she had come, from the days of quiet survival to these moments of gentle care and mutual understanding. She realized that her heart had begun to open fully. She no longer feared connection the way she once had, but approached it with a cautious confidence that was stronger than doubt. Days turned into weeks, and the seasons changed. She noticed small joys, the colors of the land, the patterns of animals moving, the warmth of sun on her skin. She shared these observations with him, and he listened, offering insights or a smile when appropriate. The companionship was steady and unspoken, yet deeply meaningful. She started to dream about life beyond routine, imagined plans for the future, hopes for growth, and small ambitions. She'd once thought impossible, she knew that she could pursue these things with confidence because she had found someone who believed in her without expectation or judgment. One evening, as they worked to repair a fence together, she paused and looked at him. He smiled gently, acknowledging her efforts and presence. She felt a rush of peace knowing that her contributions mattered and that she could trust someone to see her fully. The nights became moments of quiet reflection. She would lie in her room listening to the sounds of the ranch, the wind, the animals, and sometimes his footsteps moving softly outside. She felt calm and content. She understood that love and care did not always need words to be real and lasting. She continued to grow in confidence and strength, learning new skills and taking on tasks that had once seemed daunting. She recognized that she was no longer just surviving, she was thriving with trust, hope, and a sense of belonging that had once felt impossible. Her heart opened fully. She could now accept kindness without fear. She could give care and receive it in equal measure. She understood that love could be quiet, steady, patient, and gentle. She had found a home not just on the ranch, but in the trust and hope she had nurtured within herself. The sun set each evening. She felt grateful for the journey. From fear to trust, from loneliness to companionship, she knew that her life had changed profoundly, and that each day offered a chance to continue growing, to continue caring, to continue living fully and with hope. The ranch was quiet in the early morning. She rose with the sun, as always, moving through her routine with steady hands and a calm heart. The morning air was crisp and carried the scent of the earth and animals. She felt the familiar ache in her muscles, yet the satisfaction of knowing she had purpose and work to do. The cowboy was already outside tending to the horses. She watched him from a distance, noticing the careful way he moved. His hands were steady and sure. He looked up briefly and nodded, giving her a quiet greeting. She smiled softly, knowing that these small gestures had become part of the rhythm of their day. She began by preparing the kitchen for breakfast, gathering ingredients, cleaning surfaces, and lighting the stove. She moved with practiced ease, yet allowed herself to take small pauses to breathe and enjoy the morning light. She felt gratitude for the ability to work and to live fully each day. After breakfast, she moved to the stables, carrying water and hay. The horses neighed softly, welcoming her presence. She spoke to them quietly, using the tone she had learned brought calm. She felt a sense of pride in their trust and responsiveness and realized how much she had grown in skill and confidence since first arriving at the ranch. The cowboy approached to help with a stubborn gait. He handed her tools and instructed calmly on the best way to fix it. Together they worked side by side. Her hands moved quickly yet carefully. She felt the satisfaction of accomplishing the task with guidance and support. He never took over or demanded control. He simply offered steady presence and instruction, which allowed her to learn and feel capable. By midday, the sun climbed high. The heat was strong, yet she continued to work steadily. Her body ached from the long hours, yet her spirit was lighter than it had been in years. She found joy in small accomplishments, the glint of clean surfaces, the calm of the horses, and the way the ranch seemed orderly under her care. During a break, she walked to the river carrying a small jug of water. She paused to watch the movement of the water, the reflection of the sky, and the way the trees swayed in the breeze. She felt a sense of peace that had been foreign to her once. She thought of how far she had come from days when fear and loneliness had dominated her thoughts. Cowboy joined her without words. They stood together, watching the river for a long moment. She realized that she did not need constant conversation to feel connection. His quiet presence was enough to provide comfort and assurance in the afternoon. She returned to chores, moving from cleaning to preparing for the evening. She noticed how her movements had grown more confident. Her body responded efficiently to each task. She felt a deep satisfaction knowing that she could manage responsibilities without fear or hesitation. Young Foal was restless that day. She approached carefully, remembering the lessons he had taught her about patience and calm guidance. She spoke softly to the animal, moving her hands gently over its coat. She felt relief and pride when the foal responded positively and calmed. He observed from a short distance, stepping in only when necessary. His eyes held a quiet approval that gave her confidence. She realized that his care was consistent, yet unobtrusive. He he provided. Space to learn and grow while remaining available for support when needed. Evening approached, and the colors of the sky shifted into soft shades of pink and orange. She finished the last of her chores and moved to the porch. She sat quietly, feeling the warmth of the air and the fading light. She reflected on her day, the tasks she had completed, and the moments of calm interaction with him. She thought about her journey from arriving at the ranch, feeling invisible and burdened by fear to this place where she could experience connection and trust. She realized that each small moment of guidance and care had built her confidence and allowed her to feel hope. They shared a simple dinner and conversed about the work and the land. She spoke more freely than she had in the past, sharing her thoughts about the animals, the fields, and even small dreams. She listened as he spoke of his experiences and insights about ranch life. They shared understanding and respect in each exchange, building a bond that felt secure and steady. Night fell, and she retired to her small room. She sat on the edge of the bed, looking out the window at the moon and stars. She felt the gentle ache of her muscles and the satisfaction of a day well lived. She reflected on the trust that had grown between her and the cowboy, and the hope that had slowly returned to her heart. Sleep came slowly as she thought about the future. She imagined continuing to work and learn on the ranch, feeling gratitude for the care she had received and the trust she had allowed herself to give. She understood that life could be gentle and steady, and that she could be valued and loved for who she was. Days blended into weeks and weeks into months. The routine of the ranch became a rhythm she cherished. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities to grow. Her confidence and skill continued to increase as she managed more complex tasks and cared for the animals with precision and patience. The cowboy continued his quiet guidance, offering support and care without expectation. He noticed her growth and praised subtly. Her self-esteem and trust continued to deepen. She realized that she could now accept help and kindness without fear or hesitation. One morning she rose earlier than usual to tend to the animals before the sun had fully risen. She moved with grace and confidence. Her body responded efficiently. She noticed the rising sun casting warm light over the fields. She felt a sense of peace and belonging that she had never known. He joined her shortly after, and together they moved through the morning chores in coordinated rhythm. The cooperation between them was natural and unspoken. Yet each moment strengthened their bond and mutual trust. She felt a deep sense of connection and appreciation for his steady presence. As the day continued, she focused on preparing for the upcoming evening. She cleaned the kitchen, organized tools, and tended to the animals. She felt satisfaction in the order and care she could provide. The ranch had become a place of purpose and belonging rather than mere survival. She paused by the river once more, carrying a small bundle of herbs. She observed the water and the way it reflected the sky. She felt gratitude for the simple beauty of life and for the trust and care she had received. She reflected on how far she had come and the strength she had gained. Evening fell, and she worked alongside the cowboy, preparing for the night. He provided guidance when necessary, yet allowed her to take initiative and make decisions. She felt capable and valued in each action. She realized that trust and care had become a natural part of her daily life. Night descended, and she retired to her room. The moonlight cast a soft glow over the fields outside. She lay quietly, reflecting on the steady bond that had grown between her and the cowboy. She thought about the lessons she had learned about trust, patience, and care. She felt a profound sense of gratitude for the opportunity to heal and grow. Weeks turned into months, and the seasons began to change. She continued to rise early, work diligently, and move through the ranch with confidence. Her trust in the cowboy and in herself continued to grow. She felt a sense of belonging and purpose that had once seemed impossible. She spent quiet moments observing the animals and the land, appreciating the small joys each day brought. She felt grateful for the lessons she had learned and the steady presence that had allowed her to open her heart once more. Each evening she reflected on the day, feeling peace and contentment. She understood that love and trust did not always need grand gestures. They could be built quietly through consistent care, patience, and understanding. She felt fortunate to have experienced this gentle growth. Ranch continued to offer challenges and opportunities. She met each with confidence and skill, guided by the lessons she had learned. She realized that she could handle responsibilities and care for others while maintaining her own strength and sense of self. Her heart remained open and trusting she could give care and receive it without fear. She felt connected to the land, the animals, and to the steady presence of the cowboy. Her life was no longer defined by fear and isolation, but by trust, hope, and mutual respect. Night after night, she lay quietly reflecting on her journey. She felt grateful for the trust she had allowed herself to give, the hope she had nurtured, and the love she had begun to accept. She understood that life could be gentle and steady, and that she could live fully with confidence and care. The days continued in this rhythm, each filled with work, connection, and small moments of joy. She observed the growth of the animals, the change in the seasons, and her own continued development. Her skills and confidence increased steadily as she took on new responsibilities with grace. She found herself smiling often, feeling contentment in her work and peace in her heart. The steady bond with the cowboy allowed her to continue growing and healing. She realized that she had reclaimed hope, trust, and a sense of belonging that would sustain her for the years to come. She spent quiet evenings watching the stars, reflecting on her journey. She felt grateful for the lessons of patience, care, and steady presence. She understood that life could offer kindness and trust, and that she could continue to thrive in this gentle rhythm. The ranch remained a place of work and learning, yet it had become a place of healing. In growth, she moved through each day with confidence and care. She understood that trust and love were built slowly yet deeply, and that they could endure through consistent presence and understanding. She continued to rise with the sun, tending the animals, preparing meals, and caring for the land. She felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose that filled her heart. She realized that she had grown beyond mere survival to a life rich with trust, hope, and quiet joy. The cowboy continued his quiet guidance, offering support and care without expectation. Their bond remained steady and strong. She felt secure in his presence, knowing that trust and care could exist without strings attached. She valued the consistent, gentle attention and the lessons she had learned from his patience and understanding evenings. Became a time for reflection and gratitude. She observed the stars and felt peace. She considered her journey from fear and isolation to trust and connection. She felt grateful for that opportunity to grow and to feel hope and love. Once more, days blended seamlessly into one another, yet each was filled with purpose and connection. She continued to work with care, to learn and grow, and to nurture the bond that had become a source of strength and comfort. She understood that trust and love were not fleeting, but built steadily and deeply. Her heart remained open and full. She could give care and receive it with confidence and security. She felt a deep sense of belonging and purpose. Her life on the ranch had become a place of growth, healing, and gentle love. She lay each night quietly reflecting on the day, the lessons she had learned, and the trust she had nurtured. She felt gratitude and peace, knowing that she had reclaimed her hope, her strength, and her ability to love and be loved. She understood that life could be kind, and that she could continue to thrive in this steady rhythm.